All right, we're in the Green Swamp today. We're on the Stewart Homestead site in the Green Swamp. This is the main grade, and we're on the site of the burial and the homestead of Isham and Sarah Stewart. When we first came here, we first discovered this place several years ago. It was just through research and sheer serendipity that I found it. It was, you can see a path here now. There was no path. There was no vehicle turnaround, a well-worn vehicle turnaround. I'm surprised there isn't a sign and a Taco Bell and 7-Eleven across the grade over there. I'm sure that'll come next. And there were very few people who knew about it, and mostly those of us in the community that knew about it. And it was very, very difficult to find. And now apparently everybody and their brother knows about it because there's paths. There's at least one. There's a path over there. So there's a couple of paths. A lot of people have been here apparently. We're going to go back in and see what's left. Hopefully hasn't been too damaged. Isham and Sarah / Sally Stewart were married and moved down here from South Carolina or Georgia. I think it was Georgia. I forget. She was quite a bit older than he was, and they had. It was rumored that she had a stash of money, and in 1918, her grandson and a friend of his took that rumor for truth. At least this is what was supposed. They were convicted of manslaughter later, but they were never convicted of the murder. But essentially they were convicted of their deaths. And they did like maybe 2 years, I forget. But they were murdered in their bed by an axe. That much is true. That much is certain. When I came down here before, you could barely see the structure from here. The first thing I saw was this grave area, and there may have been a fence at that time. There was a plaque, and there's always been the headstones, but it was all overgrown. You had to hack your way through bushes right through here to get into here. But this is a plaque. It's almost 100 years ago, almost 99 years ago, May 9th. So 9 years and 1 month. Right there, loveliest research assistant. And it's quite a nice little open graveyard now. So whoever is coming in here is at least, yeah, they're leaving things. The coins and the gecko. I should leave little Tigger that I found. I don't have him on me, and I'm not leaving Go-Go. That's a beautiful tree, isn't it? Holy cow.
So this is a trail here, a white blaze fall.
Yeah, that's new too then.
That's what all this is.
That didn't used to be like this. And when I was here before, this was all covered in water too. A witch?
A trail.
So, we're going to go over and take a look at the house, since we have all this openness now. I wonder if I can call somebody to bring me a Coke, or at least a Pepsi. I do like this little trail, though, much as I'm bitching about it. This is, I don't see any change from here at all from the first time I saw this. The authorities, whomever they were, sheriff, his posse, whomever. You know what I've always thought, babe? There's got to be more around here. But the brush was always so thick to be able to look. It was difficult, but you can see There's open areas over here, plus the water. When I came through here, I was ankle deep in water. Anyway, the authorities or whomever found their bodies, tore open the side. And rather than try to get them out of this doorway, they just tore open the side. They tore down half the side of it. Now, when I was here before, their original bed with the bed spring still on it was sitting right here where we're looking now. I don't see that now, so that must have been taken away. But it's the only thing I see different so far. What I should say at this point is that since the original discovery of this place by us, someone has come out and said that this was not the homestead. This was a shed. This was a shed, and that there were a house nearby. Now, if you're looking at it from our perspective today, you can see that. It said, too, that she used this stump for a table in here. You can see also that there would have been a floor. These are floorboards, so there would have been a floor here. But by our standards, we can't imagine living in something like this. In the heat of the summer, with very few windows. And I won't say that we've seen worse in our travels, but it's just as rustic as anything else that we've ever seen, I would say. So, I don't know. I tend to believe the original account that this was where they lived. They didn't need much. And there was a bed here in the corner. This is where they ate. Back in those days, you did not generally cook in the same building for fire reasons, fire hazards. And this was all they needed. They lived their lives, for the most part, outside of this structure. And worked out here. I forget what it was that he did now. I remember reading an account, but this would have been cattle country, turpentine, citrus growing. Wouldn't have been what you see now. All woods. So, I do know, and it's probably dated much later, but not very far from here are cattle pens. So it's easily supposed that you could live your life outside of these walls and still have this be a fairly comfortable spot. What do you think? You think you could live in there?
I could. You know me, I could. I'd like to.
Doesn't take much.
That size.
Wouldn't be much to clean and all that.
Well, we're just not home very much.
Where would the satellite dish go?
I don't have cable.
I do. So, with the exception of the bed frame, which is said, there's articles, at least 2 articles that talk about going back at least 20, if not 30 years, that talk about the original bed frame and the springs from the bed still being there because they were metal. Everything else had rotted around it. With the exception of that not being here, everything else looks the same. And I'm glad to see that with all the weather in the last few years that has passed through here. And obviously all the people that have traipsed through here. There's paths all over the place around here. We see pretty much the same thing that we saw before. And I'm glad to see this in the dry season because I'm not up to my ankles in mud and water. So whatever else would have happened here, this would have been a scene of great tragedy. Oh, here's some fence posts. I don't think I saw those before because... What? You got something? Come on. Oh, wow. It does look kind of newer, but it's definitely newer, but maybe that was from the original cemetery marker. Yeah, that's old. Be careful, there's barbed wire all over the place down here. Yeah, see, that's barbed wire. That would have been livestock, cattle, whatever. And that's old for sure. There's an actual fence post in the ground over here, not too far. What is that right there? Is that fence post there? Here's a fence. We don't know what period this fencing came from. We do know cattle operations took place in here, in this area in the 30s and 40s, up to the 50s even. So we don't know if any of this was part of the Stewart Homestead or part of later operations, but still fairly historical significance. That's a pretty neat shot. I wasn't able to get back here because when I was here, I was in my net, my hooding, because the bugs were so bad. And I got to look. Well, you saw my album. That's all it was. Saw the cemetery and this, and came on back.
I was looking for the matches or the.
Yeah. Well, you can see pictures of my original album. They were right next to the deal there, right next to the house, right where whoever grabbed them out of there, knocked out that side of the house, brought them out on their bed springs, on their bed mattress. You know, like I said, we haven't seen worse before, but we've seen same type of rustic living. Watch your feet. So anyway, we're going to sign off on this bad boy for now and take some pictures and go check out some more stuff around here.